Prabhupada Paramahansa Prabhupada Shila Astotar, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गंगा देवी की जय, यमुना देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Reading word for word, Tasmad, for this reason, Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Sarvatma, the Super Soul, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Ishvara, the controller, Hari, the Lord, who vanquishes all miseries. Shrotavya is to be heard. Kirtitavyaha, to be glorified. Cha, also. Smartavya, to be remembered. Cha, and. Ichchata, of one who desires. Abhayam, freedom. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. Please repeat. O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It's a very long purport, so we'll read. In the previous verse, Sri Shukadev Goswami has described how the foolish materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in the improvement of the material conditions of life by sleeping, indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death in the 8,400,000 species of life, the aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized man, and then again the human form, which is the chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious circle, then one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. One should not do anything, either good or bad, on his own account, but must execute everything on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27 also, where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds, and thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. Hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord, and by so doing, one will be always in the association of the Lord. This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the Supersoul Paramatma present in the hearts of all living beings, and thus by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in His creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. There are many classes of human beings: the fruitive workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystic yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Sukadeva Goswami. By hearing about and glorifying the Lord, all a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate P. Krishna Goswami Bhutale. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Bhutale. So I ask for all the blessings of all the senior devotees and all the devotees that I can speak something that is beneficial to all of us. So there's many points Prabhupada raised in this purport. So I just noted down a few of them. One, he mentioned about it's very heavy words he used, that if one is engaged in materialistic life, just in sleeping, indulging in sex life and developing economically, and it's like maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. So in the materialistic life, and also we see that devotees, we also living in the world, we also have some economic development, like we have Krishna Bhavana and Hari Prabhu, they have a restaurant. So we see they are also engaged in economic development, and they are also in household life. But the difference between a devotee and a karmi, as Prabhupada heavily mentions here, someone who's engaged in materialistic life, is that they are engaged, a devotee is engaged in the process, the process of attaining freedom from all miseries and all fears, and that's by hearing, shravanam, glorifying, kirtanam, and remembering, smaranam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by always associating with the Lord in these processes, there's 9 processes of devotional service, and in this purport, Prabhupada is emphasizing hearing and glorifying, so chanting and singing, and also remembering. So also he mentioned about as aspiring devotees, we follow the 4 regulated principles. So there's no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So there's a scientific reason why we don't follow these, because if someone's eating meat, it actually takes away, these are the 4 pillars of society, or 4 pillars of religiosity. So if we eat meat, then that takes away this the four values: compassion, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. So we'll see if you can think about what meat eating, if someone eats meat, what does that take away from? Is it compassion, austerity, cleanliness, or truthfulness? Yes. So if one eats meat, it takes away compassion because we're killing animals. So people go buy meat in the shop, they're not actually killing it, but they engage in the whole process from the person, the butcher who kills the animal, and the person who transports the meat, the shop that sells it, and the person who buys it. Everyone is entangled in the karmic reaction of killing that animal. And what about intoxication? Yes, that's right. Yeah. So when we drink, we are taking away from austerity or self-control. We can't even control our urge to take intoxication, alcohol, drugs, and smoking, that it's uncontrollable. I know someone who is a drunkard, and he can't even control himself, and he doesn't even see, he thinks he's a man and he's in control, but actually he's under the control of Maya. And it's sometimes I observe, I remember when I was coming back once from India, and I was observing this couple, and this man, he's a good looking man and he's big built, and then they're just eating meat and engaging in intoxication, and they think they are the controller. And it's not just men, women also. So they think they're in control, but actually it's so sad that they can't even control the urge to the urge of the tongue, of the intoxication and meat eating. And it's very sad. And what about illicit sex? It takes away from, yes, cleanliness. If one engages in sex, uncontrolled sex, and sex outside of marriage, that's takes away from cleanliness. And what about gambling? Yes. So that's a cheating propensity. I was listening to Mahatma Prabhu's class, and he was talking on this verse. So he was saying, like, gambling, it's actually saying that it's trying to cheat Krishna, that by not working for myself, just by going to the lotto machine or some those machines and buying a lottery ticket, that I will get all this money without working hard. It's a cheating propensity. It takes away from truthfulness. So it's a scientific process. So when we are abstaining from these activities, it's helping us develop these qualities of compassion, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. So also we see that people in the material world, there are some good people who are following these, but then also it's like the dove, they eat the grains, or some vegetarians like the monkeys, vegetarian. But then at the end of life, they come back in a material body. So even though these things are good things, but if it's not dovetailed, if it's not used in Krishna's service, it's a complete waste of time. It's like Mahatma Prabhu was also talking about these athletes, they have this self-control. They wake up early in the morning, they work out, and some of them are even vegans, they have a healthy diet. And that's all good, we're not criticizing them, but they need to take it to a higher step. Because without Krishna, without engaging in God consciousness, then it's all a useless waste of time, unfortunately. Even the life coaches, they are teaching people, take control of your life, you can do it, and all these things. It's all good. Yes, we've seen people coming out from the gutter and rising up. But if it's not connected with Krishna, then again, they come back as good people in the world, and then again go to school, again, grow up and go through the sufferings. Inevitably, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, this whole material world is designed, it's a faulty product. It's designed in such a way there's no loophole, no way of getting out, except in the human form of life. Because the difference between a human being and an animal is, what is the difference between a human being and an animal, Gopal? Yes, sanity. So they have the ability to think that what is my purpose in life, who am I, who is God, and what is my relationship with God, and how to go back to the eternal home where we don't have to go through the cycle of birth, death, disease and old age. So Prabhupada uses this very heavy word, vicious cycle, this vicious circle. We keep going around this vicious circle like a Ferris wheel. We enjoy on the Ferris wheel, but we can't keep going on 24 hours, months, years, going around the Ferris wheel. Otherwise we throw up and we get sick and it becomes very dry. So that's why we have this rare human form of life, which is an opportunity to inquire into what is our relationship with God. And the process Prabhupada clearly gives here, he's emphasizing Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting and glorifying the Lord, and Vishnu Smaranam, remembering the Lord. And the key is humility. So if one is not humble, then one thinks that I am the one, I am the doer, like the life coach is telling people, you can do it. And yes, there is that minute free will that we have, that it's not taken away. The example is given, if you force someone to love you at gunpoint, then what's the question of love? Someone can use the words to say I love you, but it's not really there. So that's why Krishna doesn't force us. He gives us this minute free will to choose. So humility is knowing that we have this free will, and at the same time we take shelter of the previous acharyas, of our spiritual masters, of Srila Prabhupada, and ultimately we take shelter of Krishna through his agents. So Urmila Mataji talks about how we should all become agents of the Lord. And Prabhupada mentions in this purport, engaged by providence. So Urmila Mataji, I was reading on Facebook, she's just completed a book on people engaged in their activities according to their psychophysical nature in the material world. So it's giving a guidelines of how, while we're living in the world, how we can engage our propensity. So we know that there's 4 divisions or 4 classes of men. The intellectual class, or the brahmanas, and they are like the teachers, like that. And then the administrators, who are like the managers and the leaders of society, the Kshatriyas. And then we have the Vaishyas, who are the mercantile class, the people who are the businessmen who bring in money, and the farmers, like that. And the Shudras, which are the working class, like laborers, the builders, and the arts, like that, who are creative. So it doesn't mean that one class is higher than another, but it's according to our nature. If we engage according to our nature, even sometimes in Krishna consciousness we think that in the past it was thought of that that person is just a Shudra and referred to in a derogatory term. But actually we find also great devotees who are coming from externally from that background. So externally and materially we engage our psychophysical nature, but eternally we are all spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, and we all engage in Krishna's service. So Prabhupada mentions here that anyone and everyone in any class, in any stage of life, whether one is married, single, or renounced, one can engage in Krishna's service. So Urmila Mataji mentions in her book Manashiksha about how we should be agents for the Lord. So the example is given like someone has a knife, and a surgeon uses the knife to operate on people so that they can become better. They can be like they may remove cancerous cells in the body. So that knife is used for a good purpose because he is engaged as an agent by the hospital, and it's an authorized process. But if one uses a knife to murder someone, that same knife is engaged by both the surgeon and the murderer. But the murderer is using it without the sanction of the Lord. He's engaged, he's thinking, I'm doing it on my own account. And also the example is given of a soldier. A soldier goes to the war and he kills many people, but he's given a medal when he comes back. But if he goes out and takes his gun and shoots anyone at the shopping mall or something like that, then he's put into jail. So the same gun is used to kill people, but the purpose is different. So likewise, devotees who are also engaged in economic development, like that, the ultimate goal they know is Krishna. So it's not that we neglect working in the world and we think, oh, it's all Krishna, Krishna is going to take care of me. No, Krishna has given us intelligence. And if we don't use our intelligence, that's actually like disrespecting Krishna and saying, oh, it's like saying, Krishna, you don't have any personality. It's like saying you are impersonal and you just provide for me, but not thinking that Krishna is giving the intelligence and he's engaging us in his service. So at the moment it's approaching Christmas, and all the book distributors around the world, they are distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So I found it quite relevant in this verse to speak about it, because my sister, she forwarded me in Auckland, Devamita Swami's disciples, Auckland and Wellington in New Zealand. They are distributing books, and this year's marathon, they're calling it Garuda Marathon. So that marathon is, Devamita Swami named it. So it's very apt because it's, the caption there, it says everyone does their contribution no matter what. And then Garuda is attracted to add his supernatural might. So here it's given us the process, the four regulated principles of freedom, no meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. And then it's giving us the do's, hearing, chanting, and glorifying the Lord. So I found it quite relevant, this Garuda Marathon, because it's telling us that just like the sparrow, there's a pastime where the sparrows had a nest and the eggs had fallen into the ocean. And then the sparrow, the mother, she went to the ocean and she was so determined to get her babies back, the eggs. She was taking sips from the ocean, little sips, because a swallow, what can it do? And then Garuda, who is the great eagle carrier of Lord Vishnu, he came and he saw the determination of his little sister, and he came and he ordered the ocean to return the eggs. So likewise, we are very limited, we are very minute and very tiny, but at the same time, we can do our part, and then Krishna will send his great agents like Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual masters, and all these great personalities, Narad Muni, Garuda. They're actually here. We take shelter of them, the six Goswamis, and they are here to help us. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, spiritual masters. And then I was listening to these other lectures that my sister also forwarded me from the marathon. And just last year's book distribution marathon, they called it the Miracle Marathon. So what they do is that they have like maybe 3 to 5 minutes of different speakers from all around the world, like Vaisheshika Prabhu, Vijay Prabhu, all these big powerful Maharathis, these powerful book distributors, and they encouraging and enthusing all the devotees to go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and give this mercy out to everyone, so we all can get an opportunity, because there's no bar for anyone. And I found it interesting, Vijay Prabhu was mentioning in the last year's Miracle Marathon, he said the miracle, so they act because the devotees are looking for a miracle. And how can we get miracles? By taking shelter from the great devotees. So Vijay Prabhu was giving an example that sometimes you go on books and you may not even distribute one book, but he said there is something very powerful. He said success is in the effort. So we are all different living entities. We are all coming from different parts of the world, and we are all conditioned in different ways. Some people it's easier for them to take up this process of Krishna consciousness. Some people it may be difficult. But whatever it may be, the success is in the effort. So whatever devotional activities we do, we try our best, and then Krishna will help us. So we do our part, just like the example Prabhupada gives of the cat and the mouse. The cat carries its kitten by the mouth. So that means that we're depending on the Lord. That, oh Krishna, I surrender, you are carrying me, just like the cat is carrying the kitten. And also Prabhupada gives the example of the monkey. The baby monkey is holding on tightly to the mother monkey. So the two things go together. We need to also use our free will and make the effort, do our part, and at the same time be dependent on the Lord's mercy, on the devotee's mercy. And gradually, just like the example is given of someone who has jaundice, I haven't heard of many people who have jaundice now, but that's a condition where Prabhupada has given an example in his books where the mouth goes, the eyes go yellow and the fingers, and then anything sweet tastes very bitter. So the cure for that jaundice disease of this conditioned life is to take the rock sugar candy, and by gradually eating that sugar, the taste, you can start tasting the sweetness. So just like sometimes it may be hard, but then if you keep following this process, then gradually we can taste the sweetness, and we get the strength from all our heroes in Krishna consciousness, like our spiritual masters and devotees like Vaisheshika Prabhu and Vijay Prabhu, and like we have also here, we have Vani Swami, Kinda Maharaj, and Ramai Swami, and Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, and so many devotees. We can look to them as get inspiration from them. So that's how we get out of this fearfulness, when we are convinced that we're going to be protected by the Lord, even if we struggle, just like a child. Prabhupada gives the example, a child is learning to walk and falls down and gets so many bruises, sometimes blood is there, but it doesn't give up, and the parents don't give up. They don't say, oh, you stay down because you have fallen. No, the child keeps getting up, and gradually, without realizing it, the child is walking and running. So just like that, we keep following this process, and we'll be running to Krishna's lotus feet, back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so we'll end there. I'll just read the translation again. O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. So if anyone has any questions or comments or corrections. Krishna Rupamata.
I heard recently the sub-landed meeting with some representatives. Recently, the Saba had a meeting with some of the BBG representatives, and Minister Prabhu was there, and he was saying that this Christmas marathon they're planning on distributing 20 million Bhagavad.
It's amazing. That reminds me, thank you for sharing that. Indradumna Swami, he shared a post. He said Vaisheshika Prabhu asked him to share on his Facebook post about this marathon that's going on, and Vaisheshika Prabhu has named it Live to Give. So we can only give by also if we have something. So we shouldn't become despondent. Whatever little we have, we give. Just like we try to follow, we have good sadhana, then we are able to give this Krishna consciousness process to everyone. So we live to give, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you very much for the class. It was lovely class. Thank you so much.
Just repeated what I've heard and what I've did. Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai.